Hey there, welcome to the Bronx Buzz. As you might know, this is BronxNet's program where we talk to reporters and writers and editors and all different people who are putting stuff out in the Bronx. And in our first segment, we're going to talk about the city and what's going on in city government. In our second segment, we have a beautiful, wonderful exhibit to talk about at the Bronx River Art Center. And you're really going to enjoy that because it's got some soul behind it, and that'll happen in the second part of our show. But right now, let's talk to the government reporter at Politics NY and AM New York, our buddy Ethan Stark Miller. Nice to have you with us, Ethan.
Hey Gary, thanks for having me back.
It is great to have you. Lots going on in City Hall. We're going to talk about what you were doing this morning in just a moment. I wanted to start off. You wrote about when it happened, the mayor's statements about separating church and state. It didn't seem like he was for it, but now he seems to have backed off. Let's see. Don't tell me about no separation of church and state. The mayor said the state is the body, the church is the heart. You take the heart out of the body dies. And he got widely criticized for that. And I guess, Ethan, my question is, was it predictable that eventually he was going to have to backtrack on some of that, which he ultimately did?
Oh yeah, definitely. And the way his office tried to frame it pretty much immediately after he made those comments was that, this was misinterpreted. Everyone who was in the room understood what he was trying to say. He was just trying to talk about the centrality of faith to, his particular philosophy as a policymaker, how faith is really important to him, that guides like his approach towards being compassionate towards people who are homeless, for example. So that's kind of been the line since then. And then he's been asked about in probably like, I don't know, two or three radio interviews now and or TV interviews, and once during a Q&A with reporters. He's kind of stuck to the idea that no, I wasn't questioning the Constitution, but this is really important to me. And, you know,
Well, Ethan, you could look at any elected official. I mean, look at our borough president, Vanessa Gibson. Look at the president of the United States. Presidents have been going to church and been talking about, their moral code. And we'd like to think that every elected official has a moral code, but a clear understanding of the what we learned in the seventh grade social studies is that you don't make rulings based on religion. And so I guess the mayor gets taught a lesson. My sense, and now you cover him much more closely than I do, I'm more observer on the scene. My sense is that, the cop in him keeps coming out, is that that's his background, and he's a tough guy, and he wants to create, and now that he's got some power, that's my sense of Eric Adams. And so he has to kind of get reprimanded every now and then to back off.
yeah, no, I mean, I think the cop background for him is definitely an important part of his backstory and who
And
he
his
is.
makeup, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I didn't I have told people privately, I said, the mayor hasn't lost his blue skin, which, I think is still in there. Now listen, as far as fighting crime and understanding our streets, that's a whole other thing, and certainly I would think working to our advantage. Let's talk about what you told me just, before you logged in. I had asked you what you were working on, and you said the budget hearings, and that involved, the workers, the city workforce. The city is look. I thought the number was extraordinary. City is working to fill 23,000 vacancies.
yeah.
Jobs are out there. Tell us a little bit more about that. I mean, that's what you wrote about. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so the city has to fill, like you said, 23,000 vacancies. These have kind of accumulated over the past couple of years. The mayor's budget director, in the first of a series of budget hearings today with the city council, said that, the reason why there's so many vacancies is because a lot of people have left the city workforce for, a myriad of reasons having to do with, Adams phased out remote work as an option
Right.
last fall, the vaccine mandates. Those were the main two that he focused on. And basically, he's saying that they're not able to fill these jobs fast enough. There's more people leaving than people coming in. So the net loss is big. And right now they're trying to figure out ways to deal with that. This think tank called the Five Borough Institute that's relatively new.
Right.
I think it was started last year. Um, and one of the founders is the publisher of City and State New York, actually. And they put out a report basically with recommendations about how to, some ways to address this problem. One of them being embracing remote work at least 1 to 2 days a week.
Not something that the mayor, was for, originally.
Originally wasn't for
Right.
it. Now he seems
Backtracked
to.
off that, as well, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Last year, through much of the year, he adamantly was opposed to that idea. He said we need to get people back to offices because businesses around offices, that people go to lunch to, or
Sure, of course.
yeah, any of it, bars after work, those thrive off of people being in person. And then also, he kind of pushed this idea, which I think is true to some extent, that in the office people have like synergy. There's more,
Yeah, teamwork.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just good for people to work together in person.
Yes, there's no question about it. But, this is a problem that's much larger than just the municipal government. I mean, we hear from people all the time, business people, they got help wanted signs in their stores and everything else. And then on the other hand, there's people out there going, "I can't find a job." I mean, the city has Workforce One, and there's many other, organizations, FedCap and the Doe Fund trying to get people a Fortune Society. I wish we could kind of put things together and get people jobs. What's it going to take for the city to do its thing? I mean, concessions like the remote works concession, is that a good start? Just better publicity of jobs available. I mean, what's it going to take? Do you have a sense of that?
I mean, I think it's a little bit of both. Some city council members, Gail Brewer in particular, today said during the hearing that remote work is what people want, and she doesn't understand why they're not embracing that. Yeah, another is trying to be more aggressive about hiring. And that's something the administration said that they're doing. They're having these hiring events around the city now. That's something that I've wanted to look a little bit more into. And they're just trying to, well, that they say they're trying to be a more aggressive employer, or in terms of hiring, whereas in the past people just kind of like came to the city because
Yeah,
they were
kind of dropped in.
jobs.
Um,
Yeah.
working with CUNY and all those and working with, the other, colleges, look, the borough of universities here in the Bronx, you've got people graduating from, whether it be, master's programs or graduate programs or undergraduate programs in government. I think if you get a little bit aggressive, you might be able to do that. But I really appreciated what you said about, look, downtown, Manhattan and around City Hall, there are businesses that thrived on the lunch and then after work and all that. So I understand, while Gail Brewer's point of view is, look, let's just get them working. On the other hand, there is a little sympathy. So I don't think you can say, okay, let's just get everybody working remotely. You also can't monitor their work quite as well, or their time quite as well, if they're working remotely. I mean, I get all that. Before we run out of time, I want to talk about another issue that you wrote about, um, and that is, "Weed Be Gone," is the way, the headline phrased it. New York City seized $262,000 in marijuana products from unlicensed sellers, in the month of February. I guess that's a good start, but this cannabis program is not going to work if they don't shut down these illegal shops, right? I mean, it's just a basic, talk about basic business, right? They're going to have to shut those things down.
Yeah, I mean, the thought is, and yeah, that is just basic economics. Like,
Yeah, right.
even though the licensed shops are presumably selling a better product, it's, regulated, it's tested, all this stuff. People are going to go to a place that's more easily available and cheaper. The three
Yeah.
pot shops that have licenses at the moment are all in Lower Manhattan, within like a few blocks of each other.
That's right. Well,
This.
I'm gonna tell you now, you used to, of course, work up here in the North Bronx. I walked by, Broadway and 233rd 233rd Street or, yeah, maybe 232nd Street, and there is this storefront called the Pot Shop. It's quite clear what
Literally.
they sell there, and I mean, it shocked me, frankly, that it's still open, and I saw, frankly, a rather unsavory. I mean, you're a city person, you get to recognize things, an unsavory-looking character standing right in the doorway. I was like, "This the 50th precinct is 3 blocks away. I mean, we can't do a better job with this." I don't know. It's just me as a private citizen watching what was going on. Seems to me they could really do a lot of work here because you don't know what product they have. People, I don't know. I'm just telling you what I saw. Seems
Yeah.
to me this could be corrected quicker. Maybe
Yeah,
I'm wrong.
I mean, the city's taken a couple of actions on this, like you mentioned the number of product that was seized, dollar figures. The sheriff's office is leading a task force that's doing these
Right.
inspections
Yeah.
of about 1,400 shops that are selling weed without a license around, or that they believe are selling weed without a license around the city. So that's one way. Also, the administration, through the police department, filed lawsuits against several smoke shops in the East Village. I believe it was four, and I think a couple of those have panned out to some sort of reprimand. A couple of others, they're still kind of just like able to do what they're doing, selling more
Well,
weed.
the people of the Bronx, in fact, the borough president at our State of the Borough address just the other day talked very directly about how the Bronx was going to have like the Cadillac of cannabis programs. We're not going to get there. I mean, that was only one shop. I mean, there were easily a couple of other smoke shops in that same area by 231st and Broadway. That's only one neighborhood. I mean, neighborhoods all over the city. Anyway, so you're working on the budget. That's what you're doing, right? We're going to be able to read what you're writing, right?
Yeah, should have something up today.
Okay. We should mention we record this on Monday, and so this will air Thursday. So it'll already have been old news because you'll already be to the second stage of that. Listen, we value everything that you do, Ethan. You've been a reporter here up in the Bronx and now over at AM New York and Politics NY. We appreciate what you do. You're a total pro, and we need you. What else can I tell you? Thank you
Thank
so much for joining us today, and we'll look for what you're writing, and we'll get you back, and we'll talk about the city.
Thanks for having me on again.
Great.
Appreciate it.
All right. What we're going to do, we're going to take a short break. And as I said, you're going to really enjoy this segment. It's an art exhibit that is by Ukrainian women, and it is worth it. Let's put it that way. Don't go away.